Greetings all, this is Erin, and I am here to explain the writing strategy of Box and Explode as illustrated from Chapter 9 of our Strategies for Teaching Students with Learning and Behavior Problems textbook. This specific strategy is mentioned on page 288. The learning outcomes for today include that a student will identify a target sentence in their writing that provides a subject but is missing detailed information in order to expand in further detail. First, we are going to look at how we begin and why we would use Box and Explode. More often than not, a passage of writing is missing just enough detail to the extent that the main idea or plot becomes muddled. This happens when the word choice and support sentences do not provide enough information as to what is exactly happening in the moment. It's okay to provide some mystery to the reader to allow them to create their own image for a piece of writing or to create that hook to catch a reader's attention, but we need to provide some basic detail to really set the tone of what we're trying to say. The Box and Explode strategy helps a writer point out a weak spot. The spot is typically found in one sentence where some sort of specific detail is missing. Through the revision process, the writer or a peer editor tries to locate that sentence. Once located, that sentence becomes outlined by a box for easy reference. The next part is where the writer becomes challenged. What does it mean to explode? Once we determine our box sentence, we move along to the next step in the strategy. I want to address what may seem obvious but needs further clarification as we begin the explode process. Various bits and pieces of debris spread around the surface area when something literally explodes. We're going to make the transition for our boxed sentence to figuratively explode with new details surrounding it. This is where we can incorporate adjectives for physical or visual description, stronger verb usage to tell us what is happening, power words that accentuate creativity and emotion behind what is being said, the use of adverbs to let us know how, when, or where something is happening. It can also be as simple as updating pronouns with specific nouns to assure there is clarity of who or what is being talked about. There are quite a few variables of how you could expand in detail in your box sentence, and that can be dependent on the type of writing passage you are presenting. If you're trying to write a descriptive paragraph, you're going to want to make expansion to provide sensory-based details. If it's instructional, you will definitely want to include specific details as to what is being done or how it should be done so error can be avoided for the person following along. We're going to give it a try. Let's take a look at these few sentences. Sauce flew across the table. Clarice was furious. She began to cry. No one could console her. The damage had been done. So right away we know two things have happened. Sauce flew across the table and Clarice was furious. I'm going to point out and box a sentence so that I can expand on my writing to give us some more details of what's going on. Right away my questions are, how did the sauce fly across the table? Or why did the sauce fly across the table? And why did Clarice become so upset? The boxed sentence is going to be, Clarice was furious. I chose this sentence because I believe that this is going to lead us to the main subject or plot of what is happening. With a few expanded details, we can determine how or why sauce flew across the table and why that made Clarice upset. Did the waiter drop the plate on the table, and was it spaghetti sauce that potentially stained something? Was the stained item a wedding dress, and is that why Clarice was inconsolable? Did she spend all day perfecting her deceased grandmother's famous Alfredo sauce recipe only to have it spilled before it could be eaten? There are many variables as to what the details would inform us on, but that's the main point as to why it's important to include this type of information. We don't want to leave our readers guessing what the big deal is. Alrighty, we're going to do a quick review. Box and Explode is a strategy that helps writers determine weak spots in their writing that could include expansion of details. The explosion process allows revision for a main idea or plot to be strengthened by detail. The detail is often dependent on the type of writing that is being done as to whether more sensory information or specific direction needs to be added. Lastly, it lessens the chance for readers to become confused as to what, how, or why something has happened. Thank you so much for joining me through this lesson of Box and Explode. I hope you were able to take away some information from the strategy and can find use for it in the future. Included here is the source information from the textbook reference.